Hi, and welcome to Literacy for Linguistically Diverse Learners. This week we'll begin by orientating ourselves to the course outcomes and expectations and to the structure and organization of the course. This week you will also have an opportunity to delve into course text by starting with some reading. You will also have the chance to introduce yourself to the group and get to know your peer review group partners. You will find a complete list of norms for how we interact in this course via the course overview, but here are the key values that represent the mindset of an equity-focused and reflective practitioner. First, this is our learning space. It has been said that perfect is the enemy of good. We hope you will find this as a place for good learning work and that perfection is not an expectation, but growth is. On those lines, the focus is process over product. The processes that we use in this course can be replicated in your practice. Questions. We come with questions and we leave with better questions. This statement is plastered on a set of elevator doors at the main Regis campus, and it helps us to think about demonstrating goals that are less about the right answers and more about engaging in inquiry together. We will always be learners of our learners, and refining and deepening our questioning is an enduring part of this process. Finally, we maintain assets-focused language and a growth mindset. Have you ever played that game Taboo? You have to describe something, but you can't use the most obvious or familiar words to do so. If you use one of the words on the card, someone buzzes you and you have to try again. Well, here are some of those buzzable words in our class. Having an assets-focused mindset is crucial when we discover culturally responsive practice with groups that are often marginalized. At times, it might feel tempting to focus on what we still feel students are missing or experiences they haven't yet received. But it's important to remember that all students bring assets if we only take the time to notice and uncover them. Sometimes if those assets are different than ours, it might take a little more work to uncover. For this reason, let's challenge each other to remove words like these from our vocabulary. Can't, won't, doesn't have, low, lazy, unmotivated. When we talk about students, their families, and prior experiences, in our reflections and discussions, let's work to uncover the facets of our students' stories so that we can truly understand and work from their assets. Now let's talk about the course syllabus. You'll want to thoroughly review the course syllabus this week to be sure you have a bird's eye view of the course. Take a moment now and pause the screencast. Review the big idea and course outcomes on the first page of the syllabus. Consider where you currently see yourself in each of these areas. What are you most looking forward to learning about? What questions come to mind? Pause and consider these questions now. Here are some parts of the syllabus you will want to refer to often. The first is the large assignment overview, the colorful chart. This is a quick snapshot of what is due when, color-coded by type of assignment. More about the color coding in a moment. The second is the weekly schedule, also in your syllabus. Each week you'll find 2 to 3 categories of assignments that involve discussion, reflection, or application. The assignments are listed in the course assignment section of your syllabus and on each weekly agenda. They are also color-coded. Discussion forums are green, reflections are blue, projects are orange, and peer reviews purple. Here is the course text we will be using. There will be other supplemental text as we go too. However, this is the text that will anchor our work together. The main text is by Zwires, O'Hara, and Pritchard. This book will help us to understand the linguistic demands present for our students within Common Core and classroom practices, planning, and processes that will help our students meet the linguistic demands of the standards. There are also some great examples of lessons and strategies in the text as well, of how to teach this literacy to our students. Please be sure to highlight or take notes in whatever manner you prefer. However, it will be expected that you have a thorough understanding of the assigned material and that you are also synthesizing the readings for the week and prepared to discuss the content and its application to your work through in-depth reflections and discussions. Also keep in mind you will need to cite both ideas and direct quotes using APA from this text as well as other text in the course. Speaking of, in addition to this text, there are various other resources we use each week in the course. They are conveniently linked for you in each weekly agenda. Here are some of the major course assignments. Every assignment has exemplars and rubrics, and all of those things are linked in World Class as well as in the weekly agendas. There are 4 main types of assignments: discussions, application and reflection, peer review group, and project work. Typically, each week you will participate in either a discussion or a peer group. In some weeks, there are both. As far as reflections and projects, typically you will either have a reflection or a project, not both in one week. The goal for each of these assignments varies somewhat. Let's look at each of them a little more in depth. Discussions. For discussions, your goal is to engage in critical, meaningful discussion with your fellow participants. These discussions are evidence-based. You must reference the course readings and resources using APA in your initial post and then offer responses with substance and also possible citations in your follow-up post. There is a word minimum to your post to guide you in deeper application, questioning, and reflection. There are also prompts in the weekly agendas that will help you do this as well. Your instructor will be watching, but typically does not engage directly in discussions until the end, as to not interrupt the flow of your group. This may be different in peer forums that we will talk about later, where you are giving each other feedback on projects. Here the instructor may interject during or after. Pause and take a minute to look at what one of the discussions on a weekly agenda looks like. You can see a small snapshot here on this slide. Reflections are another assignment. This type of assignment asks you to apply and connect the reading, videos, project works, or other learning. There is a separate rubric used for reflections found in the course overview. Also, everything is linked for you in each agenda. Peer forums. You will also be asked to engage with a consistent peer review group. This typically consists of just one other person, more of a partner. But in courses where we have an uneven number of students, sometimes these are small groups of 3. On assigned weeks, you will meet with this group to review and revise small projects that allow you to apply processes to your work with students. You will be looking at one another's work, commenting on what strengths you see, asking questions, and making suggestions. It's your chance to allow another to get their eyes on your thinking. Each week you'll choose if you want to meet virtually through Skype, Hangout, FaceTime, Zoom, or if you want to engage in the discussion forum. You should plan to meet virtually at least once. However, you might meet more often if you like. When you meet virtually, one person from the group will need to post a brief update to your discussion forum or upload the video of your meeting. Determine dates and times for when you will meet and when you will post your information. Let your instructor know on the forum if your plan is not to post on the forum but to meet virtually. Remember, the main purpose for this group is to review, revise, and share projects that allow you to process your work with students. It is a place for approximation and support. No one is looking for perfection here. It's really about learning. Finally, we have project work. There are 4 main projects: the miscue analysis, text complexity analysis, unpacking standards, and a professional learning plan. Each of these projects has its own rubric or checklist. Those rubrics or checklists are linked in each weekly agenda corresponding to that project. They're also included in World Class. Take a minute to look at one of the main assignments on one of the weekly agendas. A little note about weekly agendas. Each week you'll find the weekly overview or agenda or to-do list in World Class. This is the first thing that you will see under content for each week. You will want to click on it first before opening anything else because it will guide each chunk of your learning. This will help you orientate yourself to the learning and task each week. You will also find each weekly assignment laid out there for you, piece by piece. We recommend going in order since the learning does tend to build on itself. Take a moment and pause this video to look at the components of one of the weekly agendas. There's a start here on this slide. Finally, let's talk a little bit about world class and communicating with one another. I will try to communicate with you weekly with course announcements. You will find these right on the first page when you log in. It looks like this. You can see my first announcement. It's a welcome announcement. You will want to check in here periodically to see if I am posting any announcements that will benefit the whole group. Discussion groups and peer review groups forums can be found for each week under that week under content. Along the left side, you should see a running tab of all of your content. If you don't see it, you can click on the content on the top toolbar. You see here what it looks like when the discussion and peer groups are under each week. Typically, some instructions are under each forum, but more detailed directions are also in the weekly agendas. Look there first. When you begin a discussion, you will need to start the thread by naming it for your group number or letter name. Then those in your group can add to that thread and respond. Your instructor will model how this should look in week 1 so that you can do it on your own after that. Reflections and projects will be submitted in the drop boxes. These drop boxes are called assignments or also labeled by their name under each week. Or you can click on the assignments in the toolbar at the top. It's up to you how to access those drop boxes. But please upload these as documents, not PDFs. I type comments right within your doc when I grade and get feedback, and I cannot do that if it's a PDF. Grades. Grades are organized by the 4 types of projects. I will work hard to get feedback and grades to you by a week from when they are due or submitted. Keep in mind that some more lengthy projects may take me a little bit more time. Feedback. When I send you feedback on your discussions and peer forums, I will give you feedback typically right in your forum. Discussions will typically be once it closes as not to interfere with your thinking. However, for peer forums, it might be more ongoing, especially if you have direct questions or need feedback before a final submission. Other times, I will wait until the final post. For projects and reflections, I will type feedback right in your doc and email it back to you so that you can see the comments in the areas as you read back through. APA. It is a requirement of Regis to utilize APA. This is not to make anyone jump through hoops, but it's a practice important to graduate level work as you are utilizing authors' ideas in your application and reflection. There are support tools in World Class as well as a separate help video on APA that you can access if you need more support. Your instructor will give you support and feedback on APA and all of your submissions with the expectation that gradually gets released to you over time. If you find yourself needing more support, please utilize the tools provided on World Class or reach out to the Regis Writing Center. It's free of charge and can be done virtually. Grades and revisions of those grades. So we talked a little bit about grades before. You'll want to see the course overview for information on the process and grading criteria for each assignment, as we've referred to that before with checklists and rubrics. Any assignment may be revised once based on the feedback provided, and you can resubmit for additional credit, oftentimes up to full credit. Just make sure your revisions are submitted within 1 week after you've received your feedback or score. There is a revision drop box to place your revisions in. Remember, it's more than okay to need to revise something. This is a learning process, and at Regis, we hold you to high expectations and rigor, but with support. Please do not get discouraged if you need to revise. Reach out to your instructor if you have more specific questions or need a different type of support. Please take some time to pause the screencast again and look at these components of your syllabus. Here are some tips. We will talk more about this in another screencast, but please let me know if there is ever anything I can do to help you with or clarify. I'm looking forward to this course.